Del K. Brereton, and this is the Shiloh Institute of the Real Spiel channel. Real Spiel and the Shiloh Institute. Today I want to talk about something that was near and dear to my heart. And it was a topic that came up in an event I went to, run by my boy Sweets, called Love Jones in Toronto. And this was one of the topics I was able to stay for. I wasn't able to stay for the whole time because my man Sweets, one of the best hairdressers apparently in Toronto too. I've never had my hair done him because he does ladies' hair, but Sweets is a bad man with them, with the hair situation, ladies. You might check him out. But not this is an unsolicited ad. I'm just taking care of him because I like him. He's my man. But his topic that I sat through. Because I don't know why anybody would do an event on NBA All-Star Weekend, Sweets. That's NBA All-Star Weekend, bro. Like, I was leaving. But well, I sat through this one though. It was talking about step parents. All right, what's going on? I can't say your name. I can't say that name. What's happening though? Blessings, man. Good to see you. But this was the topic. The topic was about how to deal with children if you're a step parent. And, the panelists, they had a panelist discussion, and then they had the audience comments with the panelists. Mainly, if not all, members of the Black community, I would say 40-plussers. So people who have kids, might be even moving into grandkid level, people who've been through relationships, and so they're dealing with I would call it the new blended family, blended family, where you have children and they have children and you're trying to figure it out, right? And they're having this discussion about step parents, and most of it was basically pretty cookie cutter from what I've understood. Like, you got to teach those kids how to respect your partner and this and this and this. And I just sat there and I was just shaking my head the whole time because I didn't agree. I did not agree. I didn't agree for these reasons. That, first of all, the Black community has a woeful epidemic of the broken family, and we have become so used to it. We have become so pro broken family that we have developed broken ideas. And broken idea number one for me was, and I'm going to be harsher than normal, but just because you're laying down and having sex with that chick that pushed out my child doesn't make you a parent to my child, right? Just because you're riding my old horse, doesn't mean that you have any claim to the colts, all right? And I was like, why on earth would I require a stepfather to speak to my children when I'm a fully functional father? And let me just hold your horses for a second before you get too out because some of you have been programmed a certain way. I'm a fully functional father, whether or not me and that old horse or that old cow are in good or bad. I am still there for my kids. My kids don't require another man to come in and do anything for them. They don't have to think about the supplemental consorts of their mother because I am a fully functional father. There's nothing that person has to do, say. There's no discipline. You don't even have to say good morning to my children. And luckily, well, I'm not going to put myself out there. My children don't live with anybody but their mother, and when they're with me, they're with me. She hasn't had the poor sense to move a man into our former matrimonial home. She hasn't had that poor sense. She's got a lot of nonsensical things in her head, but that one at least she doesn't have yet. So there's no reason for anybody to pretend to be a father to my child. And I heard one brother say, well, you've got to first of all go slow and start dating not just the mother, but you got to date the children too, and you got to take the kids out while you take the mama. I'm like, what? You were coming to sleep with my old chick, and you're going to what? Take my children to get to the movies and my children to have ice cream? What? Why on earth would I ever let you in a million years develop a relationship with my kids when I'm a fully functional parent? That don't make any sense. Blessings to you too, Michelle Clark. And all in the chat, blessings to you. I am, let me flip the script. And let's take this from both sides. I'm gonna give you a little bit of insight into my situation. Okay? Man, I have dated women whereby this particular woman, she brought me home to her place. Said, come on over, Big Daddy. Come check me out. I came over to her place. It was late. We had gone out to an event. It was late at night. She said, come on over to my place. I came over to that lady's place 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. To my chagrin, there's 2 small children laying down in this woman's bed. She picked them babies up and put them on the couch and said, come on into the room, big fella. I said, I was shocked and amazed. I said, this is what's happening now? That woman had known me a grand total of 4 hours. And she was not just bringing me into her home where her 2 young children are, laying down in the bed. She picked these babies up, put them on the couch for a stranger. That one hit me hard, hit me terrible. Didn't affect what I did next, but it shook me up for a minute. Not long, because that girl was fine. But I'm just saying, this is what we're on right now. This is the behavior we're on. I was shocked and amazed. And on the other side of it, as a man, I ain't gonna lie, when I broke up with my ex-wife, I wanted my daughters to vet some of the new women that I was messing with. So every now and then I'd be like, you know what? Me and my daughters are going out, but you can come. But never would I include the concept that is your new stepmama. You have a mother. That's daddy's chick. That's who that is. And you know, my daughter be like, Daddy, I don't like that one. Dad, I don't like. Dad, how come all your girls look like this? I wanted them to be part of the process. It was kind of toxic, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted them to go home and tell their mama that daddy got some baddies. But at the same time, I wasn't trying to replace their mother with a new chick, because there's no need to replace their mother. Well, no, there's I was not trying to replace that lady as their mother. They have a mother. And just for the record, their mama decided to end the relationship, which I don't know why you would leave 6'7", 275 pounds of chocolate man like this. I don't know. But I told you the child wasn't all right in her head. But she decided to do that. And I was like, well, you know, if you decided to return me back to the universe, if you donated me back to the universe, well, all these single women out here, God bless them. Let the best woman win. So I was out here, you know, taking resumes, but I didn't want to take resumes without the influences of my 2 little girls sometimes, right? And of course, not everybody. You don't want everybody to meet your dolls, because some of y'all ain't that material. You know what I'm saying? But the step thing where we are trying to make all these blended families and trying to make children that are not related to your new boo, or in a lot of people's cases, your new sex partner. You're trying to what? You're building new uncles and aunties. This thing to me is a sickness to me. It's a sickness to me. And I don't want to hear the talk about, well, you know, what if the man is completely not involved? Most black men want to be involved with their child. If that man is not involved, it's that toxic female's fault. 82% of the time, statistics say. 82% of the time, that man's not involved. It's not because he doesn't want to be involved. It's because that woman's not allowing him to be involved. Black men raise their kids, period. This generation of brothers raise their children. They want to be part. I don't care what kind of Negro he is. I don't care if he's a drug dealer. I don't care if he's a homeless, if he's a bum. He wants to be participant in his children because we are the generation that went through the fatherlessness, and we said we're not going to repeat that cycle. Most brothers are like that. I didn't know my dad till I was 24 years old. So I made sure that I was never going to be an absentee father, no matter what the situation was. This stepdad thing that we're talking about, and stepmama, but I'm really coming from the stepdad part. If I am dating a woman, this is another part I'm gonna add to it. Let me hear you. Yeah. I'm talking now. Glory to Jesus, Pastor B. I'm talking now. If I'm dating a new woman, right? And this whole date, this thing can go a lot of ways, right? Because now we have the scenarios where we've got this culture of very unhappy people. I'm saying people, but I really want to say women, but I'm trying to be PC. We have a very unhappy culture where people are not happy in their relationships, and therefore unhappiness is the new gods of our culture. And if you're not happy, you can get divorced, you can break up your family, you can bust up your life, you can tear your life down because you're unhappy. Nobody said that. Nope, we're not talking about cheated on or anything. Nope, just unhappy. And so you have now new terms that you're giving to yourselves in order for you to be unhappy and now to be morally licensed to destroy your lives, to destroy your relationships, and to go your separate ways. All these were wonderful terms. Want to hear some of them? Oh, I was married to a narcissist. Oh my gosh, you poor thing. I had to flee for my life. You poor thing. Oh my goodness. I was just simply unhappy. You know, he wasn't there for us. You know, he was not engaged in what I needed as a woman to make me. We have a lot of those terms now. So we have a lot of unhappy people who have created broken relationships, and these people come from the very, very religious. This is no longer a thing that the so-called, oh, these are sinners. No. They're big in the church and they're getting divorced. I have multiple affiliates, bishops, pastors who have divorced their wife and married a woman right there in the church who they're having an affair with, and boom, that lady was right there on the pulpit. She was first lady in 2 weeks. Multiple guys. I had so many guys get divorced for whatever reason, and they were married again in 8 months. I wasn't going to be those guys. I was not going to be the guy. Just because my wife left, I wasn't going to save face and marry the first chick with the first warm body that walked around the corner. No, I wasn't going to do that. I said, I'm going to be single, and I'm going to see what single is like. And I went out being single. So, saying that, we have this incredible epidemic of unhappy people that have decided to now look for Mr. Next or Mrs. Next. And you are creating a scenario where you think that you are supposed to be the stepfather to that woman's children. And let me say something, I have so much respect, and I have dated women with no children, and I have dated women with children. And the one thing that I remain consistent with, and will always remain consistent with, I am not those children's daddy. If you have a functional father in that child's life, you don't need to look to me for anything whatsoever. I will be silent. I am not disciplining. I am not redirecting. I am not telling you how to raise your children that you have with that man. I am not doing it. And if it looks anywhere close to the fact that you guys still have some kind of connection, I'm going to pray you guys get back together and get out of the way. I'm not even going there. I'm not even going there, because I really want, if I am coming up, and this is, at this age, you're coming across people who have either grown kids or teenage kids. Very rare you're going to catch a young chick with no kids at all, right? Because, the age gap is crazy. I'm in my 50s. Women in their 20s like me, women in their 30s like me, women in their 40s like me, women in their 50s like me, women in their 60s like me, right? And I like what I like. So you're going to come across in that range gap from late 20s to early 60s no children to grandchildren. You're coming in the whole gambit. But if I'm entering into a situation and I see this woman and the man she used to be with have a very functional co-parenting relationship, I am minding my business with those children. They are none of my business. I am interested in the woman. I am not interested in being a father to those children, not because I don't care about the children, because those are not my kids and they have a daddy, and I should respect that man enough to stay out of his sandbox when it comes to raising his children, because I am not courting his children. And I tell you right now, let me take out my chain. Let me take out my chain. I don't have it like he used to have it, so I get a little bit of him. But let me quote Mr. T. I pity the fool who tries to be a stepdaddy to my two little daughters. Oh my goodness, Negro, I'm sorry for you, bro, because I've saved my criminal record for you. I'm making sure that I can get that first offense and get off. A crime of passion, Your Honor. This Negro thought that he was going to parent my two daughters, who I am extremely helicopter parent dad about. Are you mad? Don't buy them a candy. Don't say nothing. Go check their mama. That's all you got to do. I hope the Negro who is dating their mama now, whose name I don't know, I don't even know what his face looks like, I hope he sees this video. If I catch you within 100 miles of talking to my daughters, you going in the hospital. I don't want to hear nothing about, Daddy, you know, so-and-so said, he helped me with my home. What? I have a master's degree. You don't need help with your homework from some stray Negro. I was offended. So, Sweets, I wish you would have got me on that mic, baby, because I was holding my peace. I was just like, I came to watch. I came to observe. I was like, why are they so interested in being part of another man's family? That's another thing. So I went to Ireland years ago. Let me get these comments. Nothing major yet. I went to Ireland years ago. At the time in Ireland, the black community consisted mostly of Africans. There was not a Caribbean culture there whatsoever, but it was a very strong Nigerian culture. And little Irish girls love them Nigerian brothers. Love them Nigerians. Okay? And so where I was staying, I went with a friend of mine who was a mutual friend of myself and my wife at the time. And she was staying in a family house, and one of the people there, young ladies there, she had two children for a Nigerian dude who, you know, I met him, and very nice guy, fantastic dude. And he, you know, was big in the club scene and everything in there. And when we went out, she was sitting by herself, and nobody would even say hello to this girl. They wouldn't say nothing. They left her by herself, and I thought it was a little weird. I thought it was really, but she was extremely isolated. And afterward, I was like, how come you're kind of by yourself? It seemed like, oh, none of these men will talk to me because of him. What do you mean they won't talk? Nah, they don't. They're very strict with that. They consider me his wife, and nobody. I have to leave Ireland if I wanted to date another black man in Ireland. She's a white woman too. And so said, so done. A few years later, she did. She had to go to Texas. No brother in Ireland would go near her. Now, her and the dude were not together now. But in the mind of the culture, that's this man's wife. We're not dating her. That's his wife. Those are his children. And whether they're together or not together, that's his woman. You see, there's a difference between what happens in the diaspora and what happens on the continent. There's a different mentality. And let me say this. This epidemic of blended families is slave conditioning. It's slave conditioning. Because the diaspora has been conditioned that it's okay to lay down with somebody else's wife and to lay down with somebody else's husband. They have conditioned it's okay to break up your family and to now try to become a blended family with another person. The family structure in the diaspora doesn't exist. Marriage is a formality. It's a party. It's the wedding. It's not the marriage. Listen to women, how they talk when it comes to wanting a relationship. I have a very good friend of mine, not going to say her name, but she said this to me the other day, and I asked her a question. And she said, I go, what's up, love? She goes, I'm not looking to be a love. I'm looking to be a wife. I just laughed. And I said, a wife to who? Wife to a man who wants me to be his wife. And I felt like, is that all it takes? Is that all you're looking for? You're looking for a man who just wants a wife? Or are you looking for your person? Like, I don't want to be married again to a woman who just needs to fill a placeholder of having a man that's just the husband. Because if I'm just a placeholder, you have never done the actual work to find out whether or not I am actually the right person to be in your life. Because the only criteria and qualification is the fact that I just chose that I wanted to put a ring on your finger and call you a wife. And I'll tell you right now, I don't care how religious you are, it doesn't hold any water. When this generation decides to leave, they're going to pick up and leave, no matter how much Jesus, no matter how much Yeshua, no matter how much Yahweh, no matter how much Allah comes out of their mouth, baby. When they decide to leave, they don't care if those babies still got an umbilical cord connected to their body. They're cutting and leaving. It's not like before when brothers were doing it. It's a reversal of roles. In the 70s, even in the 80s, men would cut and leave. In 2020 odd and even years, women are cutting and leaving, bro. The 2000s got a new breed. And they're not cutting and leaving and saying, woe with me, I'm going to be a spinster. They're looking for Mr. Right away. They're looking for a new stepdaddy right away. And it's, to me, it's an epidemic of gargantuan proportions, where we have developed this mindset that any new Negro can become the new stepdaddy of your children. How many are you going to have? How many men and how many women are you going to introduce to these children and try to clone them off as parental figures? I'm sorry, the new woman in my life is not a parent to my daughters. She's not. My daughters don't have to call you auntie. And I don't want to be no fake uncle. Chick I was dating before, her kids look white because the father is white. And I told those kids, call me Black Daddy. She didn't like that term. I was like, exactly. I don't need to be no, like, well, what am I going to have them call you? Have them call me Black Daddy. Oh, they can't call you that. I go, exactly. They don't need to call me nothing. But if they're going to call me something, call me Black Daddy. I was like, tell them I'm the Black Daddy. Poor children, they mix. They don't know what to do with themselves. So let them go hang out with the white one. When they come over to me, I'm going to show them how Black Daddy react. Because I was like, I don't really need a title. Honestly, I was being facetious. I don't really need a title because I'm not their dad. They have a dad. They can go deal with their father. I'm dealing with you. I don't ever want to be a dad to those children, not because they weren't wonderful kids. I don't need to be a dad to those children because they have a father, period. They have a father. They can call me by my first name. That's all I am to them. I'm not a blood relative. I am the man who wants their mama. That's it. There's no other real criteria there. If they need some, I help them out, but they got lots of family. They don't need me. I'm not here for them. I'm here for their mom, period. And of course, I'm not going to do anything negative, and I'm going to try to be a beneficial scenario. But let's be honest here. The mother doesn't need me to come in and to take care of her and her two children because she's been abandoned and whatnot, and she's been left on the side of the road, and she needs a new man to walk in. I'm not Shaquille O'Neal's stepdaddy. No, I'm not that dude. Because guess what? Men are still interested in being extremely participant in the rearing of their children even after breaking up with the mothers. We don't need another man stepping into those roles. That is an old adage. That's not how it works today. I'm telling you, the biggest dope fiend, the biggest whoever, he is participating in his kids. I've seen it up and down all over the place. They're bringing these kids to basketball. They're bringing these kids out to karate lesson. They're taking them out to play piano lessons. Brothers are participant in their children. Another brother said this up on the panel. He said, you know, one of the things that I like to do is I like to go have a conversation with the father, because I mean, after all, I'm going to be here and I'm an extension of him, helping him raise his. Helping me what? You want to have a conversation? Man, I wish my phone would ring. My conversation with is, you ever say anything to my children, it'll be the last thing you remember. Like, I don't need you to be that person. And I think many men feel like me. Trust me, you think I sound crazy right now. You're like, oh, wow, he sounds very extreme. I'm telling you, most men sound exactly like me. Why would I, as a grown man, say, you know, I don't mind if you take care of my kids. I have a son, Ethiopian lady. I have a son with the Ethiopian lady. And yeah, I was wild back in the day. I got 6 kids. I got 6 kids, and I got 3 women who have all 6 of those kids, okay? And one of these boys, in between marriages here, came from an Ethiopian woman. One bad Ethiopian woman I saw one day, and managed to, you know, man, this is before the saved version of me, but you know, a young cat. This kid's a grown man now. He's a big grown knucklehead right now. But anyway, so she had a child with me, and you know, I knew that wasn't going to work for a very long time. She didn't know it wasn't going to work for a very long time. I always knew it wasn't going to work. And I went and got married, got saved, got married, did my thing, taking care of my child. The kid was living with me. She wasn't really the greatest mom. And you know, she's raising a warrior in her house. He's a baby, but he's a warrior. Right? She can't handle that boy from about 4 years old. He's too much to be handled. They couldn't handle him in the school system neither, so he had to come to daddy's house, right? And I had him under lock and key. I had him under control. He's a warrior. You got to give that boy meat, right? I was dealing with him like a warrior. Right now, he's a fantastic mixed martial artist, too. I tapped into the things that excited him and got him on pace. So, but one day, when me and the new wife, she got pregnant, and we're having my last daughter, who's 12 right now. My son is going home for the weekend to see his mama, as regular, right? He goes home for the weekend, and this lady says he has the chicken pox. Goes, oh, he has the chicken pox. I don't want to bring him back because, you know, your wife is pregnant. And I said, well, you know, okay, well, keep me posted. Next day, I hear that the school's saying he transferred. He's been transferred. I'm like, transferred? How is he transferred out of school? What school has he been transferred? He's transferred to the east side. I'm like, what's going on right now? Total phone silence, calling the lawyers, whatnot. She's taking back possession of the baby, of the child. He's not a baby. He's like in grade. This man's in grade 3 by now. He's in grade 3 now. She's taking back possession of him. She doesn't want to give him up. Incredible court battle. Long story short, I said grade 3, right? I didn't see this kid again till he was in the 9th grade. He's about 6'3", 6'4" in the 9th grade. And where am I seeing him? He's in a witness box. Handcuffs on in a witness box. The police called me, said, listen, he's committed this crime. I understand that you're Bishop Brereton. I know who you are. And if you want, I'll release him to you right now. I haven't seen this kid since he's 3 years old. He's in grade 9 now. He's in grade 3. So I haven't seen him since he's 8. Now he's 14. He went from a little boy at my waist to a grown man I'm looking him eye to eye. I'm 6'7". He's about 6'3" at this time. And he's standing there in a witness box. So I bailed him out. I got custody of him. I'm like, I ain't making this mistake again. My wife, my mother, his mother got to the court late, which is why they gave me straight custody, because I bailed him out. Please give him back, please don't do this. My wife is like, we haven't seen this boy, and I don't trust him being in the house. My mother's like, give the woman back she child. Caribbean people, give the woman back she child, Wendell. Why are you keeping the woman child for? And she's like, I have legal custody, and he shouldn't have even gotten bailed out. I'm like, the judge is like, hey, it's in his hands. What do you want to do, Mr. Brereton? I'm like, I got one here, one there. I'm just like, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do. Now, in the meantime, she's gotten remarried. And she married a little Ethiopian guy, dude about 5'1". He comes up to me and says, man, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to make sure you have a relationship with this kid. I don't want to be his dad. I can't be his dad. I'm going to make sure you have a relationship. I'm going to stay out of the way. I'm just going to let you do your thing because she can't control him. She can't control him at all. She never should have took him out of your custody. But whatever decision you make, I'm gonna make sure you do that. So I went and talked to the boy. I'm like, listen, you know, if you're coming back with me, you're coming back to the west side, it's suburbs. You're leaving all this stuff behind. He's like, Dad, I don't really want to go back out there. And my wife is like, oh, you see, it's gonna be trouble. And I said, you know what? You fine. You want to go back with your mom? You gonna behave? I put him back with the mother. That lasted about 2 years. That same little Ethiopian man called me on the phone. He says, bro, you can pick up your son because I'm gonna call the police to get him out of my house. I'm gonna give you some time. And let me tell you why I'm telling you that story. Because the man realized this boy is not my son. He's your son. I didn't create him. I didn't create none of these problems. I married the woman. I don't really want to deal with the son. Whatever problem you've had with her in the past with access to this boy, only thing I want to do for you is facilitate your access. But I am not raising your child. That's your child. And I appreciated that. And it was unsuccessful. It was a very unsuccessful move. He should have stayed with me from the start. The boy is still not straight to this moment. He's a cold criminal right now. He's a cold criminal right now. Because he's a street kid. He got used to the street, got kicked out, didn't want to come live with me after that moment. After he called the police on him, he's like, yo, I don't want this kid in my house. He's like, now he's too big to deal with now. And I'm a big guy, but he's a big kid. He's used to he's used to gang life. He's used to all kind of stuff. I still pray for this boy right now. But if I see him, I got to put hands on him. But the bottom line was that boy needed only one man in his life because only one man could deal with him. And all of the other interfering aspects of his situation broke him, didn't help him. And some of you might have great stories about how stepfathers and stepmoms came in and stepped in and did their thing. But I'll tell you right now, it's never the best scenario. The best scenario is to let those parents who reared those kids raise those kids. And a broken family is a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. You're going to see. I hope some of you never experience it, but a broken family is a terrible thing. And when you have that scenario where these kids are traumatized because y'all broke up, you do not want to add a third or fourth element into that soup, into that chemistry. Because those kids are already dealing with trauma. They're already dealing with abandonment issues. They're already dealing with a broken worldview. Already. I think of my kids all the time. Christian parents are big in the church, leaders, and your marriage couldn't work. All those things that you talked about, forgiveness and all these things. Kids listen to that. And they're like, wow, this stuff doesn't exist. If you guys couldn't make it, it doesn't exist. And then you're going to add another person on top of that. Right now, I'll talk about it. My middle daughter, she's having a lot of problems right now. She's having a lot of problems because it seems to her that her mother is more interested in her man than her. So she talks to me all the time, dad this and dad that, and she's a smart girl. She's manipulating us on both ends of the wheel. She's telling mom one thing and dad something else. I already know that, but at the end of the day, the kid is rebelling because the parents are not together. The broken up family are not together. There's nobody going to come in and fix that. Nobody's going to come in and be a repair to that. What you have to hope is that you have enough communication, enough good sense to know that those children can only truly be raised by the parents. Unless there is a severe absenteeism, a black hole of one parent not being there, you people need to stay out of people's family. Mess with folks' kids. The most I want to do with a child who is not my biological child is coach. I'll coach a sport. But I do not wish to be anybody's daddy. And I'll tell you, some of you who've gone through it, that kid has grown up and looked you right in your face and said, you're not my father. You're not my mother. Right? They grow up and they look you right in your face and say, you know you ain't my daddy. You're not my father. You're not my mother. And even if they don't go that far, the relationship they have with you isn't like the relationship they have with the biological. Absolutely not. They're not going to choose you over the biological. Absolutely not. And you think they will? They won't. They won't. One of the greatest things that bothers my mother to this day is that the fact I didn't meet my dad till I was 24. And she raised me. Absolutely. She's the one every day, food in my stomach, shelter, clothes on my back. Mama did that. My dad never gave her child support, never. It was in a whole nother country. But I never disrespected my father for one day of his life. I never treated my dad like he was some absentee dad one day in our life. I love my dad to the day he died. I respected him to the day he died. I treated him like my father till the day he died. I called no one else in the world dad. Even when my mother tried to substitute my brother's father as a stepdad, I was like, this Negro is not my father. This Negro is 5'7". I was taller than him at 10 years old. I'm like, no, this ain't my daddy. He looked like my brother, but he don't look like me. I called him by his first name. Couldn't trick me with that. And then at 18, I actually realized the truth. I was told the truth, that the brother ain't my father, ain't my biological. I was like, I knew it. It don't make no sense. Hobbits giving birth to giants, it don't make no sense. And I did not disrespect my father for 1 second of his entire life. And my mother hates that. My mother feels like, oh, well, you know, he wasn't there for you and he wasn't this. Well, that's your business. That's between you and him. But as far as I'm concerned, I only got one father. And that's him. And I love him to death. And you can't do nothing about it. And so all these parents that think, oh, well, when they grow up, they're going to learn. They're going to learn who did this and who did that. They're not going to care. They're going to say, that's my daddy. That's my mom. Me and my mother do not have a great relationship at all. But I only got one. I got one black mother who was born in the 40s. We all have parents. If you got parents who are born in the 40s and the 50s, you know how they're going to act. They're all going to act. If you got black parents born in the 40s and the 50s, you know how you were raised. Okay? You know how you were raised. You were raised getting your butt whooped with all manner of stuff in the house, cussed out, tough love. That's how you're raised. And guess what? You love your parents. Those are your parents. You love your parents. When your mama died, you're gonna jump on the coffin. You're gonna jump. That old grizzly bear black woman, when she dies, you're gonna jump on the coffin and say, "Mama, don't go," because that's how they raised us. Those were our parents. Most of us, and if those ladies and men raised us in the 90s or 2000s, they'd be in jail for child support, for child abuse. They'd be in prison. But those are our parents, and nobody can take their place. My mom had a couple of stepdaddies running around. My sister's father's different than mine. My brother's father's different than mine. My daddy had a whole bunch of women. None of them are mom. None of them are daddy. They are all called by their first name. They're not my father. And this misconception that we have in the black family, that this new Negro, your new Negro, is going to be daddy. It's not going to happen. Stop trying to place these people, because they're just going to be resented. First of all, it gets to a point where that dude, even if you have a troublesome boy, and that dude's doing his best to discipline and to so-and-so and to so-and-so, he's still like, why am I doing this for this? This is not even my son, man. It's not even my son. I remember when my mother had my sister's father take over the discipline for me. I remember that. And he's like, he gave me the whole, well, it's going to hurt me much more than it's going to hurt you, and all this kind of stuff. And this man hit me with a belt. Man, I wanted to kill that Negro every day of his life. He hit me with a belt. And I saw his behavior when he had a child of his own, my sister. He didn't look at me like his son no more. He looked at me as an enemy who was bothering his child. The psychology never measures up, okay? There's a lot of these TV roles where these guys are acting like actual stepfathers, and they're going to love you like you're the biological. That stuff is for television. I love my biological children because they're my biological children. And I can appreciate your children, and I will do my best, but I know they have a daddy, and I will let their daddy be their daddy. Period. Okay, that's it. I had such a distant relationship with my oldest daughter, and she went and got married, and she invited me to the wedding. She, late, didn't have me give her away, didn't have anybody do that giving away thing or anything. I was just like, I was offended. I can't lie. I was offended at it. I was like, what's going on here? And the marriage didn't work out for her, and then recently we've been having some amazing conversations we should have been having years ago. Me and this little girl are just having we have the best relationship now. It's going to get better because we're talking about things we should have talked about years ago. I'm back in my car wash now. Years ago we should have had these conversations. And I'm so proud of the fact that I just waited. I waited to say, I've been a parent, I've been a consistent dad, I've never been an absentee father, I've been an unconditional loving dad. I didn't let the principle of something stop me from showing up, ever. I took my bruises. I suffered through the insults. I suffered through the brokenness. And I said, I'm going to be the consistent parent here. Nobody else is going to step in and be a stepdad. I'm going to be here. And in the end, with the oldest one, is showing me the kids remember who was consistent. The kids remember this is your unconditional father who loves you. And I believe that. I believe that the knuckleheads are in trouble right now. He knows when he gets into trouble, when they hold him somewhere, when the police finally get their hands on him, what's he going to do? You have anybody you'd like to call? Dad, can you bail me out? And I'm going to go bail his behind out. I'm going to bail him out. He's going to be still a problem, but he's going to know my father will always bail me out. Will a stranger bail him out? No. Will a stepdad bail him out? No. But daddy will, because that's my child. I put him here. Nobody else. Who else is he going to look to? Who else is he going to look to? If I see him in the streets, I'm going to put my doggone hands on him because he's my child. Period. And I'm going to have mercy for him. Why? Because he's my child. If it's somebody else's child, I might break stuff. With my kid, I'll just hold him tight. Man, it hurt my spirit to listen to it. It hurt my spirit to listen to it, man. Because I just don't understand why our community is the one community that leads the charge in blended families. I don't know why. I mean, honestly, and I'm gonna close with this. I know I've been here for 45 minutes screaming at you all. If you saw a black woman with her 2 sons, 2 daughters, or daughter, or son, or 2 kids, or 3 kids, or whatever, and we had a community like this, and said, you know what? That woman is a man's. That's somebody's family right there. And we made up in our mind, now I'm going to leave this woman alone and let her figure out her life with her family. And if black women said the same thing, this man, he's got 2 children over there with this woman, and she's like, oh, you got 2 children over there? Yeah. Well, why don't you go back to her? Well, you know, her and I don't get along, and we just this and we did that, and we blah, 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 blah. And she said, well, I'm sorry, you know, like, you're somebody's husband. Well, I'm not married to her. Well, you technically are. You have children with her. And we left those people alone. We just left them alone. Our culture would be different right now. If we were more conditioned to allow people to actually work out their differences and to figure out, you know, all their hostilities that they have towards each other. I'm not talking about people who are abusive or people who are just physically dangerous and, you know, they want to hurt you. But if we allowed people just the ability to say, you know what, I'm sorry, like, once you've given birth to a children with this person, we're gonna pay you the compliment and of just allowing you to figure it out. I think the black community would be in a different place. I mean, in closing, I was married for 19 years, and when my wife decided to leave, she went to churches that knew us, that helped participate in a mentality that you should stay separated. Not everybody. Now we had more people who were hoping for us to get back together than not. But the few, the 1 and 2 here and there, that literally participated in saying to her at a time of her most broken mental state, girl, you don't have to get back together with him. You can be by yourself, and you're this. And they weren't thinking of these little babies that are in the house. They weren't thinking of all of the time that had been put in, but they were participating in a broken idea. I don't want to become an individual who participates in a broken idea in our community, where we are teaching men, oh yeah, when you walk into a house and you see a single woman, you immediately start becoming a dad to her children. No, you better not do that, bro. You better leave people's children alone. Focus on your own kids. Go focus on your children. Actually, where are your kids? While you're here being a stepdaddy, where are your children? Where are the kids that you brought into the world? Who are you letting raise them? Everybody's raising somebody else's kids, but they're not running back to focus on their own family. It is bananas. That's all I got to say. This is Del K. Brereton. This is the real spiel. The stepdaddy, stepmama thing, it's an epidemic. It needs to stop. You need to give people time to actually reconcile their own stuff. And for goodness sakes, if you find out them children's named Brereton, don't get yourself in trouble, baby, because you're going to the hospital or to jail. Leave people's children alone.